Hello everyone, I'm Kenshin. Welcome to History Talk. Today's history myth is fast fashion a major contributor to environmental pollution. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Thank you. After entering July in 2023, friends all over the world felt an unprecedented heatwave. Whether it was already hot places like Taiwan and Japan, or even supposedly cool places like Western Europe, all of them experienced record-breaking high temperatures, even triggering widespread wildfires. The Washington Post reports that a severe heat wave is grilling the United States and most of the globe. On July 19, London's Heathrow Airport recorded a temperature of 40 degrees Celsius, marking the hottest day in the country's history. Most regions in Central Asia are currently almost 20 degrees hotter than normal. From Texas to North Dakota in the United States, temperatures over 38 degrees Celsius were measured on the 18th, and on the 19th, more than 100 million people in the United States received high-temperature warnings from the National Weather Service. Everyone clearly knows that the greenhouse effect is due to humans burning too much fossil fuel, including coal, oil fuel, which emits carbon dioxide. But did you know there's a major polluting industry that has been keeping silent? That's the fast fashion industry that's been thriving for the past 20 years. We all know fast fashion brands like Zara and H&M are known for having many styles that are quickly produced in large quantities. But the problem arises when many clothes haven't even left the warehouse before they're already taken off the shelves. So, how are these phased-out products dealt with? In 2018, Danish television reporters tracked down the fate of H&M's unsold inventory and discovered that this batch of clothes was taken to a waste disposal company to be incinerated. The news sparked a massive concern. H&M has long been a positive energy company advocating environmental slogans, having proposed recycling old clothes since 2010. CNN reports that H&M claimed, under the assistance of its clothing recycling system, Loop, to have launched a fashion recycling machine on October 12 in a shopping mall store in Stockholm, Sweden. They claim if you throw old clothes into the machine, you can get a brand new set of clothes in just 5 hours. They also promised to minimize the use of other new materials in the process, and to not use water and chemicals, in an effort to reduce environmental impact. The H&M Foundation stated, "What we want to recycle and reuse are already in the customer's closet." But the truth is anything but. Everyone knows incineration is the most brutal and destructive way to dispose of clothes. When incinerated, large amounts of toxic gases are released from dyes and other materials, directly polluting the atmosphere. H&M chose to defend its actions, saying, "These clothes were a batch of orders that were moldy or did not meet safety quality standards. That was the only way to deal with them." It sounds like a reasonable defense, right? However, when the reporters compared 4 pairs of jeans from the batch with quality-approved jeans from H&M, they found that the 4 pairs of jeans were completely mold-free and quality-approvable. H&M was ultimately forced to admit it regularly incinerates its inventory. From 2012 to 2018, a total of 60 tons were burned. But this shocking fact is only a small part of the fast fashion industry. With a large amount of inventory and bursting warehouses, incineration and landfilling become the final fate of inventory. In 1 year alone, Burberry destroyed inventory worth $2.5 billion. Big brands like LV and Chanel have also destroyed inventory worth billions. These brands resort to this practice simply to maintain the scarcity and uniqueness of their brand, to prevent products from depreciating in value and entering the second-hand market. Many media outlets consider this to be one of the most polluting industries on the planet. Next, we have jeans, something that's in everyone's wardrobe. Do you know how many resources it takes to produce a fashionable pair of jeans? A German documentary, The Price of Jeans, has thoroughly exposed the dark side of this industry. Even Time magazine once reported that after one brand assessed the resources needed for making jeans, they found that jeans are made of almost entirely water. Starting from the cotton fields to the fabric and, finally, to the washing machine, The production of a pair of jeans requires up to 3,480 liters of water, almost as much as an adult drinks in about 5 years. If fashionable treatments such as distressing are performed, the water consumed is more than double. Considering the fact that nearly half of the regions in the EU are facing a drought crisis, this seems incredibly ironic. Not to mention, to achieve special effects, chemical materials are needed, including adhesives, bleaching powder, phenols, anisole. These heavy metal materials, whose names are hard to remember, eventually all end up in the water, further contaminating the drinking water environment. In fact, there's this small town outside Guangzhou, China, called Xintang, which was home to a large number of jeans factories starting in the 1980s. Many of H&M's fast fashion brand jeans are made there. Due to the contamination from jeans manufacturing, the town's water had become not just polluted, but, one could say, toxic. This is because jeans have to go through a water removal and grinding process 20 times before leaving the factory. To achieve sufficient cleanliness, a large amount of surfactants are added. These waters, containing a massive amount of chemicals, not only smell strongly foul but can also cause itchiness, and even sores if accidentally touched. But unbelievably, they're discharged directly into drains without any processing. So, where do all the fast fashion products that aren't incinerated go? Foreign media reports that Chile has long been a hub for second-hand and unsold fast fashion clothes. These clothes are mostly made in China and Bangladesh, then sold in Europe, Asia, and the United States, and ultimately end up in the port of Iquique in northern Chile, which is the largest duty-free commercial port in South America. They are then resold or smuggled into Latin America when opportunities arise. However, reselling is still a minority. Every year, at least 39,000 tons of second-hand clothes are transported to the Atacama Desert in northern Chile, known as the driest place on Earth, where there are massive piles of clothes, aka clothing mountains, that have accumulated over time. Alex Carreno, who used to work in the import area of the port of Iquique, says clothes coming from all over the world that are not bought by the capital's merchants or shipped to other countries end up piled in the port's duty-free area because no one is willing to pay the customs duties to take them away. Why are they discarded in the desert? Franklin Zepeda, who works for a company that uses discarded old clothes to produce insulation boards, explains that most of these discarded clothes contain chemical substances that cannot be biodegraded, and thus cannot be sent to landfills. As a result, they are all thrown into the desert. In addition, discarded clothes, shoes, and hats can release harmful substances into the air or drainage system. Clothing made from synthetic fibers or treated with chemicals takes around 200 years to biodegrade. What's even more surprising is that the environmental pollution caused by discarded clothing is comparable to that caused by discarded tires or plastics. Let's look at some actual numbers. According to a 2019 United Nations report, the world's demand for clothing doubled between 2000 and 2014. The water used to produce clothes constitutes 20% of global usage, with an average of 7,500 liters used to manufacture one pair of jeans. The production of clothes and shoes etc. emits more than 8% of the world's greenhouse gases. Additionally, on average, a garbage truck's worth of discarded clothing is incinerated every second. Based on estimates, consumers aged 20 to 45 in Taiwan discard up to 5.2 million pieces of clothing each year, equivalent to 9.9 pieces of clothing being discarded per minute. On average, each person owns 75 pieces of clothing, 15 of which are barely worn. An estimated £25 billion, ca. 11,339,809 metric tons, of textile waste is generated globally each year. Isn't that a horrifying number? So how can we resist the fast fashion industry? Firstly, try to reduce the frequency of purchases. If you usually shop every week, try to extend it to once a month. If you shop once a month, try to stretch that period even further. As you slow down your shopping pace, you would be able to distinguish between what you need and what you want. For instance, Kenshin hardly gets a chance to buy stuff more than once in 6 months. Next, organize your wardrobe. If you have too many clothes that you've worn only a few times or have never worn, it means you're shopping too often. Apart from reducing your shopping frequency, consider donating to social welfare organizations. If you really want to buy something, second-hand clothes are a good choice too. It doesn't